How old are you?
12.
12. How old are you?
Oh, I'm 13.
They're my
But I'm
helpers.
the helper.
They're my
I'm a
assistants.
helper.
Oh, but you're going to be drawing something, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're part of.
These guys just came today, so they're new, but she's been
Okay.
drawing all week.
And you're
12.
12. Well,
They're twins.
you are?
Yeah.
They're different.
Okay.
It's like the Patty Duke show, remember
Okay.
that show?
Yeah.
No, those were cousins. This guy is quite the budding artist. I don't know if he showed you. Hunter, show Mr. Fisher one of your drawings.
Just see one. Just let me take a
He's
quick
quite
look.
the little artist, this guy. He's cute. Let's see what you got there, Henry. I mean, Hunter.
Hunter.
Where are your drawings?
We're here somewhere.
Oh, they're here somewhere. Wait a minute. You got lots of little drawings.
Okay.
I like these drawings.
How old are you? 5?
Yeah, 5.
You're
He
5.
does a lot
Okay.
of these little things.
Okay. All right, everybody back there, back there, back there, back there, back there, back there, back there. All right.
All right, are we almost ready?
We're recording.
Oh,
Are we doing it?
We're live.
We're live. Now I want everybody just to draw a circle. I want you to make a ball. And to make a ball on a white piece of paper, you just make a circle, right? Now you know there's a difference between sketching and drawing. And I'm going to, as we go along for the next half hour or so, you'll see what the difference is. To make a sketch is like making a note. You know when your parents go to Stu Leonard's and they make a list, the shopping list, and they say, well, we're going to get a bunch of bananas and we're going to get a bunch of grapes and maybe we need some Malamars. So they make a little list so they don't forget what it is they want to shop for, right? Is that correct? So that's what sketching is like, except it's visual. You're making a note to remember something. So in this case, we're going to remember a ball. So you make a circle. Everybody have a circle?
yes.
Okay, now I'm going to do one. And I'm going to make a ball on this piece of paper which has color. And it's going to be quite different than what you have on yours. So I'm going to draw, not sketch, but draw a small ball like this. That's almost 360 degrees. Can you see it? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to render this ball in 2 colors. I'm using a black pencil and a white pencil. And I don't let the black touch the white. You see that? You don't let the black touch the white. And what happens is, now I can make this ball rooted to the ground, or I could make it bounce. Now how would I make that ball bounce? What would I do to make that ball bounce?
You would put lines on it at a certain angle to show where its movement is.
Well, you're close. I would put a shadow. So the shadow would be down here somewhere, right? So now the ball is bouncing, right? That's a sketch of a bouncing ball. Huh? Now, to do that, you can't do that on white paper. This is called form drawing. You're doing sketching. And what you have is something that's very flat. And what I have done here is something that's very round. Okay? That's how we're going to start. And if you have that in your mind, you can always go and get a piece of colored paper and a black pencil and a white pencil and do this.
We'll try that
Okay?
later.
You can try that right here.
Yep.
You can get that. You can get a colored paper at Max's art store. Now, having said that and having done this, I want to show you something that I did when I was 4 years old. Now the year, you don't know how old I am, but I'm older than Methuselah. And I did this drawing of this sailor when I was about your age. And the year was 1928. And no kid at the age of 4 in those years ever drew a figure? Do you draw figures? People? Yeah? Can you draw one for me? On another piece of paper? Whoops. And while you're doing that, I want to show you that you can make a sketch. You can sketch with any kind of instrument. You don't have to use a pencil. You could use a paintbrush to make a sketch. For example, here's a sketch of just faces that's done with a paintbrush and a little bit of paint, oil paint, any kind of paint. And that's called a sketch. I made a note to myself that these faces maybe will show up on something that I will do later on in my life. Okay?
Were those real people?
Hold it for a second.
Yeah, these were real people. I would stand on a street corner with do these people. I would do them on a beach, for example. I spent summers on a beach,
And it's just black,
and I must have them somewhere here.
black paint.
But before I do that, I want to show you something. Here's a sketch
Oh, that's
of
good. Look at that dog.
this dog. This is a little puppy. Well, he's not a puppy in the sketch, but he's just a little puppy of a Vizsla. A Vizsla is a Hungarian hunting dog, and we had 9 of them at one point. And so I sat down and drew one of these puppies like this. I had no idea what I was going to do with this, because I'm a professional, and every time that I make a picture, it has to have a purpose. I just don't make a sketch because I like to make a sketch. Okay? So there's a purpose to all of this. This drawing was made in 1983. All right? It's the year, 1983. A few years later, I did a book.
23 years ago.
Huh?
23 years ago.
Yeah. And that puppy appears as an illustration from that sketch. Here he is in the book. You see him?
So you didn't know what you were going to use,
I had no idea what I was going to do with that sketch.
but you saved it.
But I saved it, and this is the original drawing for the page in the book. This is the painting. So it went from the sketch to the painting and published in a book. Okay, you have any questions about that so far? You like this dog? It's a cute little puppy. We called him Caruso because he sang.
How many books have you illustrated?
260 about.
260 books.
Yeah, but I'll show you another
You
one.
guys even read
I'll show you another one.
260 books?
You can make a sketch with a pen, with a fountain pen or a ballpoint pen. You don't have to use a pencil. And this is a sketch. It's called a conceptual. It's an idea. I already was going to do a book. This book was called Don Quixote and the Windmills. And then you ever heard of it? I'll show you a copy of it in a minute. So I made a little sketch of 2 pages in that book. And that's what this looks like. Okay? Very quick. It takes a minute to do this. Just a minute. And this is the end result. This is the painting that was made from that sketch.
Hold it there for a second.
Okay? Now I'll show you the book in a minute. I'll leave this right here so you can see that. I did have the book here somewhere. Well, oh. This is the book. This is a children's book. It's not a book for old people. It's a book for you kids.
It's a book they could get at the library, right?
Yeah, you can get this at a library. There it is. Does that make sense? Huh?
He wants to see the cover.
You want to see the cover?
He's going to go get it at the library.
You're going to go get it in the library, right? You can get it in the library. You can get that in the library. But sketching, for me, always means that I'm going to use it somewhere and somehow. And drawing also has a certain purpose. For example, another example, I draw on everything. Here's a napkin, a paper napkin. And, and I was having lunch with somebody who was interested in me doing some illustrations for a book. And so I drew these figures on this paper napkin in the restaurant with my fountain pen as we were talking, so this person would get an idea of what it is I wanted to think about and draw. So I draw on everything and anything with any kind of instrument. And you have to keep doing this all the time. All the time. You have to keep your hand going all the time. So, having said all of that, I'm going to show you a different kind of drawing now.
You must have a lot of space at home for papers.
Oh. This drawing is of this kind of harlequin, which is kind of like a clown. This is called a form drawing. This is very much like what I did with that ball, except this is the same idea. This is called a form drawing. It's not a sketch, it's a drawing, and it's done with a brush, not with a pencil. And it was done for a painting, and I'll tell you why I had to do it so perfectly. Because with this kind of a painting, you can't make any mistake. This is the painting. Can you get a good look at that? I'll do it this way. Now, the reason why this is called a drawing and not a sketch is because it is done to completion. When you make a sketch, you're not really completing it. You're not really finishing it. You're making a note to yourselves. But this had to be done like this because once you put this paint on here, which is done with the yolk of an egg, you can't get it off. There's no way you can get this off.
Is that gouache?
It's called egg tempera. It's called egg tempera, and it's painted with an egg yolk. So if you can't sell it, you can eat it, you know. But the drawing has to be perfect so that you know what you're doing when you're making the painting. Okay? No questions?
It's practice.
Yeah? Practice, practice, practice. Yeah.
So is it like a draft?
Say that again?
Is a sketch more like a draft, kind of?
Yeah, it's
Did you copy off of that one to make that one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because this tells me the kind of form that's in the painting and how everything sits on that panel. I'll show you another one, but a different kind of a drawing. Where should I leave this? You want to keep looking at it?
So do you make changes from the draft to this?
No.
No.
No. You just start beginning to end. You go from the upper left corner to the lower right corner and sign your name. That's it. That's it. In this particular painting, here's one that you might enjoy seeing. This is also done with the yolk of an egg.
Ooh, look at that one, guys. What's going on there?
What's happening here? See, here's that ball again. This time it's a balloon, right? I tried to...
Like it's transparent.
Huh?
It has a transparency.
That's right. It's a balloon.
It looks like it's like bubble gum.
I tried to bring paintings that that would interest you. Yes.
Is there a reason why in the other painting that you showed us, that was made out of the oak, that there's a wall and there's something through it, or you can see something in it?
I think what she's saying, in both of them, you have kind of Gothic windows. that
Oh.
are happening.
It was a period in my life. These were done about 60 years ago, these
Wow.
paintings, 60 years ago. And the reason they look so fresh is because when you paint with this kind of medium, it'll last forever.
Remember what it's called? Who remembers? Egg tempera.
When you paint with an egg, you're painting something almost permanent.
So you mix the colors color yourself?
Yep. Everything is done by hand, including the panel, everything
Wow.
is done by hand. Now, you've never seen a picture like this before, have you? Or something painted like this before. So I'm just going to leave it on the floor here. Just don't step on it, that's all.
You can lean it up against something.
No, that's okay. But to do that, I'll show you a different kind of drawing. This is not a sketch. This is a drawing of that painting that was done before I did the painting. So there's a lot of preparation here. Huh? Now, there are some people that like to take a sketchbook and they go out in the field and they see a tree that they like and they make a sketch of the tree. But they don't carry it any further than that. They just make a sketch because they love to make a sketch. But I don't do that. I never have done that. When I go out and I make that tree is going to turn up in a painting somewhere along the line because my head is all full of pictures. That's how I think. When I look at you, I like to take a photograph of you. You're in my head already. You're not only on film here, you're in my mind. So look at this, and you see how the painting was figured out. And then I made a drawing like you saw before, the form drawing to go along with this. So there's a lot of preparation with all of this. Does this surprise you that there's so much work in this?
Yes.
Huh?
Surprises me.
Does it?
You too?
Now I'll show you some sketches though. Right here. Different kinds, these are different kinds of sketches. Now this sketch, okay, yeah, okay. During the Second World War, you know what, you ever heard of the Second World War? Yeah. Oh, you have? Oh, that's pretty good. I was in Africa, and I kept running around with my sketchbook. I never was without a sketchbook and a pen or a pencil or something. And this was done with a very soft black pencil of one of the local characters there. Okay? So this is a sketch. It was never really completed. Here is one of just a study of a hand. And this is done with a magic marker. Just a hand. Now I'll go home after my lunch this afternoon, and I'll sit at my drafting table, and I may make a drawing of an ear just to figure out what it looked like, because it'll probably turn up in a painting somewhere. So look at your neighbor's ear, and see if you could draw the ear. Huh? Look at your neighbor's ear and see if you can draw it. Here's one, whoops, here's one of a rooster. See, I draw everything. This is done with a pen, a ballpoint pen. Just a rooster.
We're busy looking at each other's ears now.
Yeah, yeah. Now here's an exercise you might want to do. See this hand? That's my hand. So all I did, put my hand down here, and I traced it, and then I rendered it in with a magic marker, because I was studying the hand. Now I'll show you, make a fist. Everybody make a fist. Right? And I'll show you something interesting why most artists cannot make hands. Hands is the most difficult thing to make because they don't know where the knuckles go. Huh? So look at my hand and look at yours. Take your pencil, pick your pencil up, and take the first two knuckles and put your pencil against it. No, your knuckles up here. See? Those two knuckles go in one direction, and then these three knuckles at the end of your hand go in another direction. And if you could do that, I'll show you. Look, see, make a fist. These two knuckles go that way, and these three knuckles go that way. See? Once you learn that, you don't have any problems making a hand look like a hand. Okay? That's a tip.
I wish you would told me that when I was 5. Wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, well, then that's what's happening right here. These 2 knuckles go that way, and these 3 go that way. And so we're dealing with 4 knuckles and 2 positions. Okay? Everybody got that? Yeah? Did you do the ear? Everybody do an ear? I'll show you some more sketches. These are done with a pencil, and they were done on a ship. And I would just sit there with my pad, just like you. I had a pad like this, and I would just draw these guys. I made hundreds of these. And when I got finished with this, I'd make another, and another, and another. I never stopped. Then I would sit on a beach, and I'd make this guy shivering in the cold from the water. You know. Now, when I made this, I was not much older than you are, the older ones here. I was 16 years old when I was doing this.
Did you go to art school?
I was in art school when I was 8. That's where I learned about the knuckles. And this too, this was done on a ship. So I was a teenager when I did these sketches. And these are all sketches, like this crazy guy driving this taxi cab, but done with a pen and ink, with a fountain pen. Same with this. These are local characters. But you have to look. You have to pay attention. You have to look at what's around you. That's why I said make a picture of your neighbor's ear. You know, you might make a picture of your neighbor's nose. That's possible. Huh? But you have to look, and you have to process this in your head. So where are we now?
Did you bring any of your children's books to show us?
I just brought 2 books, and I just
We have a lot in the gift shop. I know that. We'll look at those later.
yeah, but those are different. They're very
What are those, woodcuts?
yeah, they're very different than a 5-year-old's type of book.
Do you want to draw for us a little bit?
I don't have anything to draw on.
I'm going to get you something to draw.
You're gonna have them draw circles.
How did you draw?
Why don't you, does anybody have any questions? Why don't you ask your questions while I get this gift?
See, I carry my equipment with me. Yeah,
When you were in school, like middle school or
yeah.
something like that, what's your favorite thing to draw on, like notes and homework and stuff?
Oh, I always drew people.
What did you draw on, like, would you draw on, like, would you always want to draw?
Always. Ever since, I'll tell you how I began. I was 2 years old when I began. And my father was making a watercolor. My father was an engineer. Matter of fact, he was a marine designer. He designed ships. And he liked to make watercolors, and they were all terrible. And I knew this when I was 2 years old, how bad they were. And so one day, he was working on a watercolor on a drafting table, and I came over, and he had turned his back, or he'd walked out of the room, and I dipped a brush in a bottle of ink, and I fixed his watercolor for him when I was 2 years old. And from that point, and I destroyed it, really, and I just scribbled something on it. From that point on, my parents gave me a studio, which was the front hall closet. So they cleared everything out of the front hall closet, and they put a table and chairs in there, but nothing liquid, only crayons and pencils. I was not allowed to have any liquid paint in there or anything. And my father did his watercolor someplace else, you know, and I did my thing in the closet. That little drawing that I showed you before of that sailor, wherever it is now.
Here?
Yeah. This, no. When I was 4 years old, I don't know where it is. It's down here somewhere.
Keep talking, I'll find it.
That drawing of that sailor that I showed to you is one of dozens of sketches that I did watching a parade. Watching a parade. So I was always carrying this around with me. Now you'll notice it was done on a calendar. The sketchbook was a calendar. One of my uncles was a printer. And one of the things that they printed in his printing shop were calendars. And this calendar is dated 1928. And so I used the calendar as paper. Anything I could get my hands on. I was more precocious than any of you sitting here, I'll tell you that right now.
I think so.
You know, they couldn't stop me. It was like...
You didn't have to compete with video games, too.
No, and I didn't have to compete with a lot of other kids either, because nobody was drawing like this. In those years, they just didn't. They made stick figures. You know, they make a figure. You know what a stick figure is? Can you make a stick figure? You know how to make a stick figure?
They're all pretty good at that.
Yeah, make a stick figure. Yeah, that...
Here's one person who doesn't know what a stick figure is.
You don't know what a stick figure is? Oh, well,
Got it? Some of them don't.
well, I'll draw one for you.
There we go. You should go where you can see them.
Here, I'll make one for you. That's a stick figure, right? There's a stick figure.
You asked what a stick figure is.
Like that. Yeah. It's made out of sticks. And that's what most kids were doing. And so here I am making a profile, you know. I was already at this age doing family portraits, by the way. I'd make profiles of my uncles and my aunts and everything else. That's why I was in art school very fast. They got rid of me. I was telling somebody earlier about this art school that I went to, where the teacher, it was called the Heckscher Foundation. It was on Fifth Avenue and around 105th Street, New York. And the teacher said, draw something. I want to see what you can do. So I drew a horse with a cowboy on the horse. But I had the horse bucking, right? But I had the legs turned and bent the wrong way. Instead of the legs being bent under the horse, I had the legs going like this. So she came over and banged the desk with a ruler. You know, I was all of 8 years old. She said, where did you ever see a horse do something like that? I said, I never saw a horse. I was just a kid from New York. The only horse I ever saw was maybe a nice man delivering, you know, probably a swayback horse that was due for the glue factory. But I never saw a bucking horse in my life, not even in the movies. So it pays to watch everything. Now I can do horses now. You know, I do a lot of horses.
We said the first day of this workshop that horses were just about the hardest thing for them to draw, the legs.
It probably is, but you have to understand the anatomy, how the muscles go on a horse. And there are books that you can get that would show you how to do this. It's easy once you see how. So there's no big problem here, right? You can all draw, you can all sketch. How many of you like to sketch? Well, some hands are going up slowly here. Yeah? Do you keep a sketchbook all the time?
My notes in school. I do it constantly.
Let me tell you something. You do it in school all the time, right? I did it in school all the time, too, and I did it in an English class. It was in high school. And I would doodle all the time, right? But what I was doodling was illustrating the collection, the selection that we were supposed to be reading. So the teacher, whose name was Mr. Blum, I remember him, and the reason I remember him is because he said to me, you don't have to do any book reports anymore. He said, all you do is illustrate these books. He knew that in order for me to illustrate the book, I'd have to read it. He was very smart. And so I turned in the drawings for the book. I got an A in the course, right? In an English course.
My English teacher would give us some lunch attention.
Would she let you do that? Would he or she let you?
If we get caught doodling, she'll give us-
That what?
If we get caught doodling in her class, she'd give us a lunch detention or detention.
Oh, I have to talk to
You know,
that.
there's a new study out that doodling actually increases your ability to absorb knowledge.
Yeah. you know.
So they actually say that if the kids are doodling, they're listening better. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I must have been listening pretty well. I mean, but I like to read. Reading was part of it. I ended up being an illustrator, but
Didn't you write several books too?
I wrote 88 books.
Can you believe this?
But this-
He wrote 88
88,
books.
but this is over a period of 50 years. You have to understand that. That's a long time, 50 years. And but in any case, doing book reports by doing the illustration of the book, and I told you about this napkin. You remember I showed you this napkin? This was a book called The Cane Mutiny. It was about a ship, a destroyer, that the captain of the ship was a little crazy. And so they wanted me to draw two of the characters. One guy was called Horrible, that's this guy, and the other guy was Meatball on the ship. And I didn't have any paper or anything, and they said, let's see what they look like. So I took this napkin in this restaurant that we were in, and that's what I did, and I kept this.
Can we see closer what Horrible and Meatball look like?
You want to see what they look like? Yeah.
Run, actually.
Horrible and Meatball.
That's Horrible and that's Meatball. It's on a napkin. Horrible and Meatball.
Whatever you do, don't do your drawing on a linen tablecloth, because you won't get it off. Your parents won't like that.
When
Pardon?
it was open, have you been to the restaurant V?
See, the restaurant?
V?
V's?
It's in Westport.
Yeah, I remember that restaurant.
They used to have the paper table.
Yeah.
And I used to thought of.
But it's funny, you can go to restaurants today where they have tables for kids, and they give you crayons. Have you been to those kinds of restaurants? And you draw on the. Have you? And do you do that? Yeah. You got to. Yes.
Are Horrible and Meatball boys or girls?
No, these are two boys. Yeah. They're two.
Very cool.
They're two boys. But this is not the only napkin drawing I ever did. Now, what have you got in that book? What is that? Is that a design you did? Yeah?
Well, like, I do flowers differently. I do it as if it's like cursive.
So you're a designer? No. Yes, you're a designer. Now, what else can I tell you about all of these drawings? How about you draw something for me that's imaginative, that's something that's in your head right now?
What?
What's in your head? What can you draw from your mind? What would you like to draw that you don't see around you?
Who has an idea? Raise your hand.
You have an idea? If you have an idea, put it down.
Who has an idea? I know you guys have lots of ideas. Henry, what do you
You know?
what do you have that you don't see here in your mind that you'd like to draw right now?
Let me explain. While you're trying to think about all of this, let me explain something to you. I can't use
Feel
those.
good?
I have one. I come prepared. When I showed you the ball, when I did the ball, one thing that I did not show you. Okay, let's make this. We'll say this is a balloon. Okay, that's a balloon. Pardon? No, this is going to be fine. This is a balloon. Now, if this balloon is in the sunshine, in daylight, and the sun is directly above it, right here, the light would be here, but the shadow would be underneath, directly underneath, like that, okay? See that? But if this balloon and the light was over here, in that direction, the shadow would be on the side. You think you can remember that? So what you're doing is trying to create some kind of reality on your sketch pad, just with your pencil. I'm doing it with a magic marker. You could do it with a magic marker too. If the sun was over here, where would the shadow be? Where? over here, right? It would be there. So the sun now is over here. And so this would be dark on this side, like that. And the dark would be underneath here like that. And the dark would be where here? Be over here on the side, right? Already this begins to take a little bit of form. Huh? Yes? No? Okay, now I'll give you a problem.
Okay, listen up.
Here's a problem. I want you to make a box.
Make a box.
Make a box. Well, that's a big box. Now I'm going to make,
COX.
here, I'm going to make a box now.
ED box.
Okay? Everybody do that? Did you do that?
Well, look how he did it, guys. Look, if you use your eyes. That's what we're talking about. Using
See?
our eyes, right?
Okay, have you got it? It doesn't have to be big, it could be small. Now, the problem is this. The sun, the light, or the electric light, or the lamp is going to be, let's say, over here. Where would you put the dark? Where's the dark side of that box if the light is over here?
The opposite side of the sun.
Over here, right? So this becomes the dark side. Like that, no? But now I'm going to make it real dark. Right? Make it a little bit darker. Now what happens over here? Can't leave this the way it is, can we? So this has to be just a little bit grayer. Like that. And the shadow would be like this. So we make a shadow here.
Doesn't have to be perfect, guys. Just do your best.
Yeah, I'm just sketching this. I'm not being perfect.
He's also been doing it a lot longer than you guys. They're having trouble with this one. 3D. They all want to learn 3D, but it's a tricky one.
There. Now this box suddenly pops off the page, doesn't it? So you have to use a little bit of shadow and shade to bring it to life. So let's see what you've done. Let's see. You have to put the shadows in. You're doing very well over there.
This is her little
But watch the angles. Look at the angles that I have here now. How many else? That's a good one. That's a very good one. Right there. That's very good. Except the shadow would come above. See? Would come above it, up here also. See, this is slightly above it. I'll make it a little bit better here. Okay? So let's see. You have to look at it and study it and then draw it. You have to study it. Very simple box. You could do the same with a triangle. A pyramid. And suppose we do the same thing. And the light is coming like this. What would you do with this one? Pardon? So, this would go boom like this. Okay? Now the reason you leave this untouched is because it's slanting away from you, because it's slanting. Now, who would like to volunteer to give me a problem?
Oh.
What do you mean by a problem?
What would you like me to draw?
Oh, okay.
Please be easy on me.
Does anyone else have an idea? Let's get one of the little guys. What did you want? Did you have an idea? You just raise your hand. Tell Mr. Fisher. Nice and loud.
A flower.
A flower? A flower. What kind of flower?
Like a daisy. But in a pot.
What?
In a pot.
In a pot. It's supposed to be in a pot.
But it just needs to be more flowers.
Hmm?
More flowers.
You want another flower?
More flowers.
More flowers? You want more flowers in there?
Said a cup.
Huh?
I was meant to say a cup.
I think that's a pretty good daisy in a pot. I think
Yeah.
that's good. Let's see if you can do that.
See?
Henry, do you have something you'd like to ask Mr. Leonard to draw? You usually have lots of ideas about lots of things.
Have to put the dirt in here.
You have an idea? What?
What?
A butterfly.
Butterfly.
A butterfly.
5-year-old girls have all sorts of girly ideas. Noah, do you have an idea? What's something you'd like? Let's give him a challenge. Maybe all right, how about a challenge?
A what?
Elephant.
Oh, an elephant. Okay.
An elephant. That's-
You do elephant. These guys, show me your elephants. You did elephants.
You did elephants today?
Get out your elephant.
Where's your elephant?
You find it yourself. You're a big girl. I know your name. You go through your notebook and look for it. While you're doing something else, we'll look for our elephants. Leora
Listen.
has an idea.
Yeah?
Henry down there.
The what?
Unicorn.
A unicorn?
And what was your idea, Henry?
Yeah.
A temple. And Henry here in the blue shirt has lots of ideas.
Okay, I'll do a unicorn here. What's going on here?
Did anyone find their elephant yet?
I did.
All right, well, keep it open to your elephant.
Keep your elephant there. I'm going to do a unicorn first, okay?
Okay.
We'll do a
We
unicorn.
didn't do unicorns yesterday. Oh, I like your elephant. Is this your, oh no, that's a pig. Why aren't you finding your elephant? Why am I finding it? I like these ones. You find it.
That would make it a mammoth.
Keep looking. Keep looking. You'll find it. Did you find your elephant?
It's a unicorn. Let's see yours. Oh, I didn't draw the whole thing. I just drew just a piece of it, right? Huh?
Oh, here's my elephant.
There's the elephant. That's a very good elephant. That's a good elephant. How about a pilgrim?
Pilgrim.
How about a pilgrim? You know about the pilgrims? You know about pilgrims? Huh?
Draw a leprechaun with like the hat.
Oh, a leprechaun? A leprechaun.
Oh, for St. Patty's
Yeah, I
Day.
can. All right, I'll do a leprechaun. A leprechaun.
You might be able to use that in the upcoming week.
Said that.
Standing and holding
I can't wait to see this leprechaun. Henry, did you find your elephant in there? Okay, look for it, please.
I'm finding my elephant.
Good
Make
job.
the leprechaun with a $1 bill.
Oh, let's see the leprechaun. Check it out. Oh.
Make a $100
Huh?
bill on his hat. Puppy?
A puppy? I already did a puppy. Where's the puppy I did? He's over here. He is.
Dollar sign on the
There, I already did one. There's the puppy.
A rose?
Huh?
A palace?
I can't hear.
Inside a house? A palace? A rose.
A rose?
White house?
A rose?
A rose?
That's a flower. No, a rose.
All right, who has something different? Let's give
First of all, I have to put a shamrock on here.
A big castle.
So I think you should draw a Miss Elizabeth.
Okay. What was that, a rose? A rose. That's very difficult, a rose. A what? Buckingham Palace? Oh, give me an easier one than that.
Well, Henry said the biggest building in the world, right? Did you say that?
What's the biggest building in the world?
The tallest. I said the tallest.
The tallest, isn't it the new?
What's the tallest?
I don't know.
The new-
No, it's in China. No, it's in China.
It was the Willis,
The what?
it was the Willis building in Chicago, but I think it just got topped.
No, isn't
Yeah,
it
no,
the
there's
China
tallest building in the world down in Dubai.
Oh, it's in Dubai. There you go.
Oh, in Dubai. Yeah, well, I don't do buildings. I'm not an
You don't do
architect.
Dubai.
I don't do Dubai.
Can you do like a random capsule?
A castle?
Let's give him a living, breathing thing. He's
Yeah.
really good
Miss
at that.
Elizabeth, the living, breathing thing.
Okay, go for
No, I'm
it.
not going to do that.
Too easy. Just do a big head of hair.
Yeah.
And glasses.
Let's make hair.
A what?
A bunny.
A bunny.
How about a cat?
A bunny. I don't think I ever drew a bunny.
A cat.
I don't think I ever drew a rabbit.
Never drawn a bunny before.
Your whole life you never thought
No,
Wanna do the bunny?
I've never drawn one.
Oh, a bunny.
Now,
I gotta think of what one looks like.
Tell him, but let him
A bunny.
one thing at a time. Why don't you guys try and do bunny? Well, keep your elephants open, but do bunny on the side.
No, it's not called.
A bunny.
Do bunny down here.
No, that's a dog.
You've got a lot of them in your backyard. I'm surprised you've never.
I'd never draw one. Never drew one. I drew a lot of dogs. You know. But the whole idea of this is to observe, to look, and to put it down fast, to put it down quickly, and not to dwell over your sketch. You have to be able to do it quickly. So to be able to do it quickly or to do it simply like this, you have to know what the creature or what the object really looks like. So you have to study it. You study it. You don't imagine what it looks like. Okay?
Here's my one.
What's that? Is that a bunny? Let's see that one. I have to study a bunny because I don't know what they look like.
This is my bunny.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. He's got a broken ear though. He's got a broken ear. So I think,
You guys drew bunnies too. Remember the bunny holding the big carrot? You all have an elephant and a bunny in your sketch.
I'm on the page of the bunny.
Yeah, you can stay on the elephant for now though.
is that,
Unless you want to show me your bunny. You guys all did bunnies and elephants.
how about this? Is this a bunny? No. No.
oh well.
Oh well.
You need to find another career. Lynn.
I can't do a bunny. I can't do a bunny.
Down for you.
I can't do a bunny. What am I going to do about that? So,
All right, one last thing, and make it something unique. Not another flower, please. No butterflies. Something unique.
a witch?
Green skin.
A scary witch?
Yeah.
Scary witch.
Yeah,
All right. This,
and a broomstick.
a scary witch.
I like your leprechaun.
What?
I like
The leprechaun?
You can just finish him on his body.
But let's see, we could do a scary witch.
Oh, there's your button. You can show Mr. Fisher that later. You've got a button. You guys drawing witches too? No. You draw a witch.
Is that scary enough?
Ooh, that's a.
Is that scary? Is that scary? Oh, they came to life. they
Why
came.
is he smiling?
They came. Oh well, witches could
I'm a little
smile.
nervous. This came after the suggestion you draw Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That came a little too easily.
George Washington.
George Washington.
That's a good one.
One.
No,
That would be
the Emperor penguin.
the what?
The Emperor penguin.
A penguin?
A penguin. An emperor penguin.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I draw a guy with a tuxedo.
The puppet that you have to use the
Marionette.
yeah, marionette. Like
Well, that could. Well, this could be a marionette too. This, you put strings on a thing like this. It could be a marionette. You could,
Well, I think since Mr. Fisher lives in Westport, how long have you lived in Westport?
60 plus years, I guess.
And what brought you to Westport?
That's that's a funny story.
Other artists?
I had no idea that there were artists living here when we moved here. I didn't have a clue. I was teaching in New Haven, and then I quit teaching. And my wife and I had a subscription to the Metropolitan Opera in New York on 39th Street in New York. And we would drive from New Haven to New York. And then on the way back, I'd fall asleep at the wheel at exit 41. And so we'd pull off the road, or Marge, my wife, would drive the rest of the way to New Haven. And I kept falling asleep at exit 41. So finally we decided to move to this area. So we looked at Wilton, Norwalk, and all around here. We ended up near exit 41. That's what, we live on Newtown Turnpike. And that's how we got here. And then I found out there are other artists living here. I had no clue whatever.
Fate.
Hmm?
Fate.
Well, we did know it had a good educational system. And we had a little girl at that point, and she was going to be educated. And all our three kids went all through the Westport schools here.
Are any of them artists?
My middle daughter is a photographer who does architectural photography and has a business that travels. She travels between London and here and Larchmont, where she lives, and she has an English partner. And they travel all over the world photographing
Architecture?
various places. Like when they were building the Olympic facility in London, the Summer Olympics in London, she was commissioned to record that, the building of all of that. And so it's very interesting stuff. And she's going to have a show of her photographs at the Westport Library in, I think, October or November. Yeah, you get a chance to see. They're big things.
And you have a big art studio. You have a studio
next
to your house.
I used to have two studios. One was in Norwalk, and one was in my house. And the one in Norwalk was very large because I couldn't do the very large paintings. Like, for example, I did a mural for the Norwalk Transit Authority, for Wheels, for their administration building, for their lobby. I couldn't do it in my studio at home. So I had to have the studio in Norwalk where I had high ceilings and everything. I was there for about maybe 7-8 years in Norwalk, and then I
See,
came
they
back.
probably don't. From looking at this, they don't realize that you do very large paintings.
I painted the world's largest watercolor. And it was during the war. Strange as it may seem, it was in a little place in North Africa. And if you look at a map of North Africa, take a look at a map, you'll never find this town. And there was a theater in the town, and it was called the Salle des Fêtes, the room of holidays, of celebrations. And the stage was where a supply area was. There was an orchestra pit, believe it or not, in this one-horse town. And the orchestra pit was the mess hall. And they wanted to separate the supply area on the stage from the mess hall where people ate. So they commissioned, the special services commissioned me to do a mural. And how am I going to do a mural of this place? And we did it on, it was 19 feet long and 9 feet high, and it was on paper. And we glued a lot of paper together. As a matter of fact, this is the kind of paper it was done on. And after we glued the paper together, we put a hose on it so that it tightened. So the whole thing was as tight as that wall, and they gave me 5 cans of powdered house paint. Red, yellow, blue, black, and white. And they said, make a picture. Well, I made a picture there. And
Did you plan it out the way you
yes, oh yeah, it was all planned out. I never finished it because the locals burned it to the ground.
Did you get
But
a photograph of it?
yes, I have photographs of it. But the thing about it was the reason I never finished it is because this may not resonate with all of you, but maybe for the camera it would, is because there was a big battle going on in a place called Cassino in Italy. And they were taking all the guys where I was, up, cooks, bakers, anybody that could shoot, they sent them up the line. And I knew if I never finished the mural, they'd never send me. And that was the Army way. If I finished the mural, I would have gone. So I never finished the mural. I worked on it very slowly. Very slowly.
So by being an artist, Mr. Fisher did not have to fight in the war. That's pretty good.
Oh, I did, though.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
At least that time.
Not that time.
Yeah.
But I also did a mural in a hospital in Hawaii, which was probably the size of this wall here. And it disappeared. We didn't know where, after the war, we thought they tore the building down or something. And my wife and I went back to Hawaii 50 years later to find that mural. And we think that building became a barbershop. The hospital became a barbershop with like 100 chairs in it for an army thing. And they painted over the mural. They painted white wall. They just painted right over it.
I wonder
So we
how-
think it's underneath.
Yeah, like the mural downtown that we're going to walk to see, that
Yeah.
Nash mural in Banana Republic. Maybe
So-
you can uncover it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going back there to uncover it, you know.
Someone
We have photographs of all of this.
Someone will.
And there's a record of all the work done on that mural at the New Britain Museum of American Art. So they know that it's where it is. And
What was the subject matter?
Coney Island.
Oh, wow.
And it was the midway of Coney Island.
In Hawaii.
Pardon?
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii, yeah.
I'm gonna have to wrap because my.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the kids got to
This
go
way.
too. This was wonderful. Does anybody have a question for Mr. Fisher before he goes? What do we want to say? Thank you.
You're very
so
welcome.
much.
Well, I hope you remember some of the things we did here, right? Huh? Don't forget to go to the art store and get some,
We're going to do that this afternoon.
huh? And
Is that the
get some
paper?
color paper, and you get a black charcoal pencil, a number 2B,
Okay.
and you get a white charcoal pencil, and you can do something like that.
For my birthday, we went to Max's and I got like a charcoal pencil.
A charcoal pencil. Yeah, there's one other drawing here I'll show you before we break up. I think, yeah. That technique, this is how that technique looks on gray paper. This is gray paper, and this is this woman, you know, with the balloon. I'll get close to you so you can see it. This is a drawing done for a painting that I never did. After I did the drawing, I decided I didn't want to do the painting. So this is done with a brush. This is a brush drawing.
Did you copy it with Did you copy it with
He means, did you make it up out of your head, or did you?
Oh,
copy
no,
it?
no, no, it's out of my head. Everything's out of my head. Everything. I don't copy anything. Nothing. No, people copy me. I don't copy anything. Okay, take a good look at that. It's done with a very small brush with white gouache and India ink.
Okay,
But you can use a pen, black pen.
nice.
That's very fine drawing. So this is not a sketch anymore. So when you complete your sketch to this point, the sketch goes from a sketch to a
You
drawing.
might use that for something, it might be resurrected.
Yeah, I might.
how come it's
Nice.
all black?
Well, because you cannot make a drawing like this on white paper. Now I could have done this very easily. No, I could have done it on this color. I could pick any color. It doesn't have to be this color. I just happen to have this.
But,
We're gonna try that.
how do when you have like black paper and you put a person on it? How do you do it?
Oh, now that's the best question. I'm going to tell you how I did that. I do the drawing of this on a piece of tracing paper. You know what a tracing paper
Yeah,
is?
did that yesterday.
Okay. Then I take a pencil and I blacken the back of the tracing paper. I don't use carbon paper back there because carbon has grease on it and you can't paint over grease. So I blacken the back of the tracing paper and I put it on this gray paper, and I trace it back onto this. I transfer the drawing from the tracing paper to this.
I can show you guys how to do that later.
Yeah, that's how I do it. But they never use carbon paper for this, ever. Okay? You got that?
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
What's carbon?
Yeah, I'll show you guys later.
Yeah, Elizabeth will show you later how to
I'll
do
show you
that.
later.
Yeah. But everything is a process. Everything is a process. And it took me 40 years to learn how to do all of this. So I don't expect you're going to learn how to do all this in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But you have to put your mind, if you want, who wants to be an artist when you grow up? There you go. So you have to have patience and you have to study. And you have to have a mentor.
A mentor.
You have to have a mentor, a
Tell them
teacher.
what a mentor is.
A teacher to show you the steps along the way. And there are a lot of steps, but more than that, once you learn the steps, you have to practice these steps so that you end up with a certain kind of perfection. You want to see a shot of that?
And you told me you work every single day, you told me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, every day.
Every day.
I go to sleep thinking of pictures, I wake up thinking of pictures, and it's amazing my wife is still married to me.
Okay, well, what do we say?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's have a nice round
Thank you.
of
You're a lovely bunch. Only 2 people fell asleep on me here.
applause. Oh, they did very well. Thank you.